pwede ba? Certified baliko ka?
Matakot ka kung biglang straight ako. Hello? Bakit? An meron?
Kasi diba, hindi mo naman nalalaman right from the start. Diba parang may journey pa yun?
May saman ka no? Kaya ka nagtatanong.
Pero paano ka ba magiging sure? Did you just know? May protocol ba to?
Di naman siya ganun ka-strict, bestie. Real talk. Normal lang to. Okay, let's do LGBT 101. Simulan natin sa SOGIE mo. Okay, so you might have heard of the term SOGIE, which stands for sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. So, first, sexual orientation refers to the emotional, romantic, or sexual attraction towards a person based on their sex or gender. This is where terms like lesbian, gay, bisexual, heterosexual, and the like fall under. Gender identity, on the other hand, is how one sees themselves, may it be male, female, a bit of both, or neither. Gender identity is often confused with sex, which is assigned at birth based on the baby's hormones, reproductive organs, chromosomes, and secondary sex characteristics. If your gender identity corresponds with your sex assigned at birth, then you identify as cisgender. Transgender is an umbrella term that refers to people with a gender identity that does not align with their sex assigned at birth. However, gender isn't limited to a binary. Non-binary is an umbrella term for people whose gender identity is outside the man and woman binary, or in other words, they are gender non-conforming. Some of those who fall in the spectrum identify as both man and woman, somewhere in between, or neither really. It's important to remember that non-binary people are also still trans, and it's important to recognize them as such. Lastly, we have gender expression. It is how one expresses their gender, may it be through pronouns, name, clothes, body language, voice, and many more. Gender expression can be categorized as feminine, masculine, or androgynous. But it's important to note that gender expression is not always equal to gender identity. That being said, we must keep in mind that someone's gender is not based on how they present themselves. Now that we've learned about what SOGIE really means, how do we see this in our daily life? People, especially in the Philippines, tend to assume that a gay man, in general, is a man who presents himself femininely. But gender expression is not equal to sexual orientation, as we just learned. Gay people don't need to be feminine. It has also been normalized to call a woman who likes women a tomboy, which is just a big misconception. The term tomboy refers to a fashion style and is not descriptive of one's sexual orientation in any way. We mentioned pronouns moments ago as well. For most trans and non-binary people, changing their pronouns is a big part of their transitioning. People might ask you to refer to them as he, him, or she, her, they, them, or ask you to use their neopronouns like z, zer, and others. Trans and non-binary people may also change their names. Out of respect, we should always use the pronouns and names they prefer to be called. If you know that someone is transitioning, never refer to them with their old pronouns and never call them by their dead name. If you're not sure what their pronouns or name is, you can simply ask. In recent years, the world has changed to be more accepting of the LGBT community, so much so that the topic of queerness has become a topic of discourse in a lot of places. However, despite recent efforts in the Philippines, misconceptions about the LGBT are still prevalent because of conservatism, not enough representation in our media, and already existing bias and discrimination against queer people. These are still ever so present. And it's made worse by the fact that there's currently no national legislation focused on protecting LGBT individuals from discrimination in the Philippines yet. These then make it all the more important to push for the SOGIE bill, which would protect the LGBT from the said discrimination by law. We must continue to strive and call for action, to listen, educate and support, amplify queer voices, educate and spread awareness on queer issues and topics of inclusivity. And lastly, support one another, continue to stand in and for pride. As of now, the road to making our country a place of inclusivity may seem so far away, but through our collective voices and actions, can we take our steps forward? Then surely, we'll wave our flag higher than ever.